What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic back with another high school DxD related video, and today we have What If Issei Went Solo Part 6. You already know the like goal. Let's try to hit 1,000 likes, okay, because we've been smashed it the last couple of times. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. Seriously, thank you for all the support, and I do have something special coming soon. Thank you for all the support on my What If Goku was the God of Destruction. Again, that channel will be linked down in the description below. Thank you for all the support, by the way. I really do appreciate that. It got over 100 likes. That was very cool to see. And I have something extremely special coming because let's just say I lost a coin flip and I have to stream with one of the fellow girls at my school. And yes, I will do a face reveal at the same time, so you will be able to see both of our reactions. We will be doing a tier list, so it's going to be kind of crazy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into part 6. Chapter 24, Chess. Issei and Rias joined the others. Both looked happier. So Issei, how did it go? Kuroka said. I've forgiven her. Now I can finally move on, and so can she, Issei said. You two took over an hour. Did something happen? Kuroka said. Between Rias and I? Not at all. Then why is her scent all over you? Kuroka said. Kuroka cat scent smell picked up, and she was annoyed. It was a long platonic hug, but if you hate it so much, I'll go shower, Issei said. Wise choice. Care to join me? Issei replied. He asked seductively. Fuck yeah, Kuroka shouted. Her shouting disrupted everyone's focus and chaos ensued. Those practicing magic lost control and their energy erupted in an explosion, leaving them covered in a black soot. Those sparring definitely got hit by the attacks. Issei and Kuroka left to avoid getting in trouble and had fun in the tub. As the nighttime approached, everyone went to bed from exhaustion except for Kuroka. She passed out from too much This night was so young, so he decided to go for a walk and then get some ramen at a nearby stall. It was his favorite place, since he was a devil. Issei ordered a bowl of ramen, and a young woman with a bob cut joined her. Hey Issei, fancy seeing you here, Sona said. Hey Sona. I used to come here all the time. What brings you here? Issei replied. I love the ramen here. I have been here for a year now, Sona said. After I left, huh? Yes, after your disappearing act from your former team, would come here frequently to see if you would show up here, and even when they thought you were all dead. Sanji missed you the most, being a fellow pawn and all, Sona said. Yeah, I missed you guys too. Sorry for making you guys go through that, Issei replied. Don't be, but if you want to make it up to me, then how about playing chess with me? You're quite the smart fellow, so let's see if you can beat me, Sona said. I would love to play a game of chess. We can catch up while we play, Issei replied. Let's play in the student council office. I can get us in, Sona said. Both finished their ramen and pay to go to the student council. Both sit down and set up the board. What have you been up to the past few months? Sona said. Sona moves her pawn. I got promoted to king, Issei replied. Issei moves his pawn. Yes, I heard from my sister. Congrats on being the first fallen dragon king, Sona said. Sona moves another pawn. Thanks, I already have a queen. Issei moves his knight. It's Kuroka, isn't it? Sona said. She moved another pawn. Yes, who else could it be? Issei replied. Issei moves another pawn as well. I heard Rias was willing to demote herself to be your queen, Sona said. Sona moves her bishop. She was willing to be my pawn or even my mistress, Issei said, and then Issei moved his knight. Oh gee, she clearly wants to be by your side, Sona replied. Sona moves her knight, and Issei takes Issei's pawn. I rejected her advances and she accepted that I don't love her like that, Issei said. Issei moves his bishop and takes out her pawn. What about the others? Sona replied. Sona moves her rook. Shirone, aka Konako, is more open, and Azia is doing better, Issei replied. Issei moves his other knight and takes out a pawn. And Akano? Sona said. Sona takes out a pawn using her bishop. We trained in the Gregor, and she's bonding with her dad again, Issei replied. Issei takes out her bishop using his rook. So she overcame her past, Sona said. Sona moves her other knight and takes out a pawn. Yeah, I've forgiven all of them, but it'll be like before. Issei uses his bishop to take out her knight. You just took out my knight, Sona said. Sona moves another pawn. Speaking of taking out knights, are Kiba and Tsubaki dating yet? Issei replied. Issei takes out her pawn using his own. I've caught them flirting a couple of times. Ever since you guys forgave him, he's become a better person, Sona said. Sona moves her rook. Did all of the girls fawn over him for the past year, Issei said. Issei takes out her knight using another rook. So about your friends, Sona moves her rook and takes out a pawn. Two of them are basically my sisters, one from foster homes we used to be in, and the rest are good friends. That's all I can say until the rating game is over, Issei said. Issei moves his rook and takes out another pawn. Understandable, can't risk losing, Sona replied. Sona moves her queen. Glad you understand. Also, checkmate, Issei said. What? Sona replied. Sona looks at the board and notices her foolish mistake. She actually moved her queen in the path of Issei's rook. She facepalms. I win, Issei said. I'm rarely ever beaten, Sona replied. Almost nothing looks more ordinarily than chess pieces before a match starts. The first move, however, begins in a spiral into chaos. After both players move, 400 possible board setups exist. After the second pair turns, there are 197,000 possible games, and after 3 moves, 121 million. At every turn, players can chart a progressively more distinctive path, and each game evolves into one that has probably never been played before. With stats like these, one can only win or go for so long no matter how good they are. You amaze me, Issei hyoudou, Sona replied. We should get going. Both of our teams are probably waiting for us, Issei said. It was interesting to play against you. We should do this again sometime, Sona said. I'd be delighted, Issei replied. Both went home. As Issei opened his door, Kuroka was sitting there waiting for him. So where did you guys go all by your lonesome? Kuroka replied. Ramen. I ran into Sona and there we had a game of chess. I won and I filled her in on what's happening. She is a friend after all, Issei said. You had ramen without me and with another woman, no less, Kuroka replied. Once again, she used her kitten face and Issei was guilt-ridden. That is annoying and lovable at the same time. Okay, fine. I'll take you to get ramen sometime. And Kuroka went up in excitement. And that is the end of Chapter 24, Chess. Chapter 25, Sparring Match. 1 week till the rating game. So far, Team Riser, Team Sona, and Team Bael, and Team Rias were participating. Team Rias' members. Rias as king, Akeno as queen, Byuko and Shirone as rooks, Kiba and Arthur as knights, Ozzy and Kuroka as bishops, and Issei as the only pawn. I can't tell you to begin how much this means to you. To me, thank you all, Rias said. But there are 2 problems. 1, humans can't enter unless they are rare exceptions, and 2, if we become devils, then we can't use our swords, Arthur says. Then join my parage. I'm not a devil. Irina and Zenobia want in, Issei said. Irina and Zenobia said, yup. Then I'll be a pawn, Arthur replied. Same here, Keokero said. I'm staying as I am, and so is Orphis, Volley said. I'm good as a rook, Byuko replied. Bishop, please, Lefay said. As you all wish, Issei said. Issei took out his pieces and picked them up. A bishop piece merged with Lefay, a rook piece merged with Byuko, and 2 knight pieces merged with Irina and Zenobia. 4 pawn pieces merged with Arthur, and the other 4 with Keokeo. All of them now had wings like Issei's, but no physical changes, but their abilities boosted in correspondence with their pieces. All of them had 3 sets of wings. Nice, Orphis said. I don't feel any different, Byuko replied. Threw a punch towards me, Issei said. What? Why? Just do it. If you say so, Byuko throws a punch and Issei catches it before the force released a shockwave that pushed Lefay onto the couch while everyone else covered their faces. And that wasn't even your full strength. You held back, Issei said. Damn, Byuko replied. Wow, Irina said. Irina and Zenobia, since you're both knights, your speed has increased 10 times their usual limit. So learn to control it and use it. Lefay, since you're a bishop, your magical powers have increased to almost Kuroka's level. Arthur and Keokeo, being pawns makes you both dangerous since you 2 can promote to any piece except king. I think everyone picked the perfect pieces for themselves, Kuroka said. I agree. Arthur and Keokeo can do more than just wield weapons. Both are excellent fighters and can use magic. Their weapons are just their primary choices, Volley said. My team is almost complete. Just 1 bishop and rook remain. I also found out who will be fighting. Our first matchup is against Riser and it's Sona Sitri versus Syra Bael. She's screwed, Issei said. Issei, that's rude, but true, Kuroka replied. So about this Riser guy, is he strong, Volley said? Volley asked. Volley, I beat him using my balance breaker without boosting, and same with Kokaville. So compared to us, no, he's not, Issei said. You didn't boost your power? Not bad, Volley replied. Although I haven't used my balance breaker since I beat Kokaville, Issei said. Issei, you had no choice back then due to the heart transplant, but now that your heart is stronger than you can go all out, Drake said. Then let's see if your balance breaker went through any changes, Kuroka said. I think now's a good time to train. Yo, Volley, want to spar? Now you're talking, Volley said. Oh, geez, we better put up a few barriers just in case then we should talk to Rias. don't want to be around these two fighting, Kuroka said. Everyone agreed. Kuroka and the others leave to visit Rias and plan the match against Riser. Meanwhile, with Issei and Volley, I've been waiting for this, Volley said. Then let's skip the formalities and go all out, Issei replied. Both go at the same time. Balance breaker! Both enter their balance breakers. Their armors are similar, but different in colors. Volley's being white and blue, while Issei's armor is red and with a black outline on each of the tip of his trail, releasing a flame as well. Both don't waste time and launch a full assault. They only held back just enough to make sure the barriers didn't break. Dreg already told Issei about the dividing gear's main abilities, such as divide and half dimension. Issei used his light spears to avoid contact and to inflict as much damage as he can. He used the spear to block and then launched it like a javelin straight towards Volley's swing and almost hit his head. You nearly killed me. Looks like I'll have to risk breaking the barriers if it means I can win, Volley said. Volley powers up and shows his true skill. He actually made contact with Issei and landed blow after blow, breaking his armor. Divide! Times 5. Issei's power diminished greatly, but Volley continues to assault him. He shot his demonic aura and buried Issei under rubble. Issei thinks to himself, if only I could use promotion like the old days. I need that power. I need it. Then do it, Issei. Show that white bastard what we can do. Boost! You still got some fighting left, yeah, huh? Boost! Times 30. Promotion, Sonic Welch Knight, Issei said. Issei launched himself from the rubble at the supersonic speeds, his armor thinner and more aerodynamic. Promote to Rook, Issei says. Change, Solid Impact, Dreg replies. His armor morphed once again. It became more bulky, and clearly getting hit by that would mean that certain death to anyone who isn't strong enough to defend or dodge. Issei boosted his power and accelerated his fist using his elbow thrusters. Volley couldn't dodge fast enough and use his arms to block it. It was a direct hit, and he was sent flying and half of his armor broken. Promote to push-up, Issei says. Change, Welsh push-up blaster. Twin cannons appeared on Issei's shoulders while his tail went straight into the ground for support. Boost! Times 10. Dreg, fire. Two beams of pure energy fired and hit Volley directly. All of Volley's armor was all destroyed. Damn, I lost. You're stronger than I thought, Volley said. Issei's army dispersed. Thanks, I'm exhausted, Issei replied. Issei fell on his knees, breathing heavily. So how long have you had that ability, Volley said. Since a moment ago, Issei replied. Damn, bro, you're crazy. I like that, Volley said. Issei reaches out for his hand and accepts his help getting up. Never could I ever thought about armor being promoted that extent, Volley said. We're part of this supernatural, bro. Even the most senseless things make sense to us, Issei said. Well, you're not wrong, Volley replied. Our fight was short, Issei said, because we started fighting, no plan, no tricks, just straight up sparring, Volley said. Yeah, I honestly enjoyed it, Issei said. Orphis appeared. That was a good fight, Orphis said. Both Issei and Volley are startled by the little dragon god showing up out of nowhere. You've been here the whole time? Issei said. Yes, Orphis replied. Hey, there's something I need to know. How did you end up in the Chaos Brigade? Issei replied. I used to be their leader, but I grew bored, Orphis said. Issei just sat there in silence. Yeah, you get used to it, Volley said. Issei, chocolate, Orphis said. Sure. Issei just gives her what she wants. And that is the end of Chapter 25. Sparring Match. Chapter 26. Red versus Yellow. The first match between Team Riser and Team Rias was not far off. The team members were on their way on the waiting room. Guys, wait, Rias said. They look and stop at her. I was thinking about our team name. Instead of Team Grimmery, how about Team Red? Rias said. How come? Issei replied. Because the Grimmeries aren't the only ones associated with the color red, since you make your debut as the Red Dragon Emperor. You're also a symbol, so it's only right that this whole team should be able to be part of it, Rias said. Everyone smiles at her modesty. I like that idea, Akeno said. If that's what you want to do, then let's do it, Rias, Issei said. Issei knows that what Rias said was only half the reason. He calls her Red, and every now and then, but not as frequently as she would like to show this way, so she'd like to be called that again and again. She still wants to be close to him as possible, even if it's indirect. They waited for the announcement that finally came. It was Azazel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first rating game since the end of the Great War. So without any further delay, we will begin the first match. It's Team Rias versus Team Riser. Each team will have 5 minutes to come up with a strategy. Begin. So got any ideas? I want to hear your opinions, Rias said. I'll take on the push-ups, Kuroka replied. Her queen is mine to fight. This time I'm ready for her, Akano said. So basically it'll be like before, Issei said. Everyone goes, yeah, but this time they won't hold back, Issei replied. But neither will we, Kiba replied. So this time I'll use Sage magic if needed, Konako said. Save it for the Bael team. I fear we'll be needed there, Kuroka said. Fine, Sharona replied. Leave Riser to me. I know that he has trained since we last fought, and he wants a rematch, Issei said. I wouldn't mind having a crack at him, Kuroka replied. You would fuck him up, but I can tell from the look in his eyes that he wants me since I broke his eco, Issei said. That was badass, Rias replied. Time's up, guys, Byoko said. All teams prepare to battle. 3, 2, 1, fight, Azazel says. Riser made the first move. He came in head first straight towards Issei. I'm glad you're back, Red Dragon Emperor. I wanted a rematch for almost a whole year now, Riser said. You mean business this time. No holding back, huh? Issei said. I'm not making that mistake again. Riser replied. You sure have changed, Riser, Issei said. As have you, Issei, in more ways than one. You're hiding your power level, Riser said. When you reach a certain level, it becomes so hard to do so, Issei says. Guys, the match has started, Rias said. Sorry, Rias, my bad. Now then, shall we? Guys, you know the plan. Don't hold back, Issei said. Everyone, right! Arthur and Kiba go full speed towards Riser's knights, and the sound of clashing steel can be heard. Sharona and Byoko test their strengths against the Rooks in Mortal Kombat. Shockwaves could be seen in the distance. Akano took this to the sky against the Bomb Queen, and the sound of bombs and thunder could be heard loudly as they took it higher and higher. Akano even began to use light spears. Azia stayed with Rias since she wasn't a fighter, but Kuroka clearly was. She used her sage powers, which were boosted by the Queen piece, to deal some real damage. The crowd was cheering at how strong both teams and how they are holding their own against Riser and his team. How about we make a deal to make things more interesting, Riser said. Like what? Issei replied. If I lose, then my little sister Ravel, who will soon be a free bishop, will join you. She has taken an interest in joining your team, Issei. We both know that Lady Kuroka is clearly not your bishop, in reality, Rias. You knew? Rias said. Her powers are similar to Issei's. She's his queen, isn't she? Riser said. Just keep quiet for now, Issei said. Only Ravel and I figured it out and agreed to keep quiet until we knew the whole story, Riser said. You really have changed, Rias replied. After my pride, or should I say my ego, was shattered, I was finally able to see clearly, and thus I'm sorry, Rias, for everything. I apologize to you as well as the Red Dragon, Riser said. And if you win, Issei replied, then we get to have a sparring match every now and then. Deal? Riser said. Oh, my friend would be joining us as well, Issei replied. Perfect, Riser said. Guys, the crowd is staring at us, Azia said. Then let's go, Riser, Issei replied. Both fly off into the distance. Balance break, Issei says. Issei now enters Balance Breaker and launched his fist towards Riser, who caught it. Please stop holding back. You have the boosted gear, so use it, Riser said. So be it, Issei replied. Boost! Times 18. Issei launched a full-on assault, and once again, any damage Riser had was healed instantly. Riser's released his flame wings. His aura was incredible, so much heat that even Issei could feel it through his tough armor. Riser only continues to power up and transform into a bird of fire, a literal phoenix. So you've trained the whole time since we last fought. I'll show you the new powers as well then, Issei said. Issei unleashed his 12 fallen angle wings and created his signature light spear. What the? Riser said. Didn't see that coming, did you? Issei said. But you're a devil. How can you create a light spear? Riser said. I haven't been a devil for almost a year now, Issei said. The crowd went wild after seeing Issei's and Riser's powers. This was going to be a good match. You're really a unique existence, Riser said. I am the first fallen dragon king, Issei said. Then let's fight like kings, Riser said. Both charged once again. Issei used his light spear to block Riser's talons that were hot enough to cut through steel. Riser sent gale force winds from his wings mixed with flames that created a fire tornado. It sucked Issei in, who boosted his defense but was sucked in. The flames were consuming the oxygen so that Issei to think quick. He used his strong fallen wings to create a counter tornado which spun in the opposite direction, this canceling both of them. Riser launched his flaming feathers like bullets, and they were too many for Issei to dodge. He immediately hardened his fallen wings, but they could only defend for so long. The relentless barrage of fire feathers went through his wings and armor, wounding Issei. Rias ran over to help. No, this is my fight, Issei said. Issei, Rias replied. Issei gets back up and boosts his power again. Promote tonight, Issei says. What? Rias replied. Welt Sonic Boost. Night, Drake says. Issei, once again now in his aerodynamic thin armor, flew at supersonic speeds. The sonic boom got everyone's attention on the field, and in the crowd, everyone else stopped fighting and just watched in awe. Issei boosted his speeds even more and impaled Riser via light spear. He promoted to Rook and punched Riser back into the air. Again, Issei promoted to push up and fired 2 energy beams at Riser, who was already roasted. He fell into the ground, reverted to his original form. Issei was now on top of him and holding a light spear over his head. Give up? Issei said. Looks like you've beaten me once again. Yes, I surrender, Riser says. Riser Phoenix has surrendered. Team Red wins. This was truly a spectacular match. No holding back. Give it up for Team Red and our legend, the Red Dragon Emperor, aka the Fallen Dragon King, Azazel said. The crowd cheers. Irina, Zenobia, KOK, Volley, and even Orphis were sitting there. They all cheered while Orphis just sat there waving a small red flag. Tomorrow's match is Team Sitri versus Team Bael. Team Sitri is known for their tactics and planning, while Team Bael are walking powerhouse. Who will win? Find out tomorrow, Azazel says. And that's the end of Chapter 26, Red versus Yellow. Chapter 27, Sitri gets owned. The next day, Team Red, along with Irina, Zenobia, KOK, Volley, and Orphis, were invited to sit with the Devil Kings to watch a match between Sitri and Bael. I wonder how Saji will do against him, Issei wondered. Who? Kuroka said. He's a sacred gear user on Sona's team. He's the pawn and so far the only guy on her team, Issei said. So the blonde guy must be him. I can sense a dragon in him as well, Kuroka said. His sacred gear holds Vitra, the poison dragon, Seraphal said. I knew it, Orphis replied. Orphis said while sitting on Issei's lap eating chocolate. The dragon of infinity in form, or little girl sitting on his lap eating chocolate. Everyone at the same time just had a surprised face. The atmosphere was getting awkward, but everyone thanked their lucky stars as the match had started. Welcome to the second match. Today is Team Bael versus Sitri. Each team has 5 minutes to plan. Your time starts now. Both teams have started planning. Team Bael members. Syra Org as king, Kesha Abadan as queen, Karina and Mesete as bishops, Liban and Brika as knights, Gandamana and Ledora as rooks, and the mysterious pawn wearing a hood and mask. That pawn is new and dangerous, Issei said. A sacred gear user? Volley replied. Maybe, Kuroka said. Team Sitri members. Sona Sitri as king, Tsubaki as queen, Momo and Rhea as bishops, Tomo as her only knight, Tsubasa as their only rook, and Saji as her only pawn. I really wish she had a full barrage, Seraphal said. Sona will be alright. Have faith, Serzek said. We both know the power difference is too much between them. As a Devil King, I have to face facts, Seraphal said. I played chess with her a while back. She's cunning. She'll put up a good fight, Issei replied. When did you two hang out, Rhea said. After she and I had met at ramen at our favorite spot. Oh, how I missed the taste, Issei said. Now I want ramen, Kuroka said. How about we all go after the place that you're talking about after the match, Serzek said. Everyone nods. Begin the match, Azazel said. Sona created several magical-based traps. Saji promoted to queen and summoned his sacred gear, a black gauntlet on both arms, and his eyes turned purple. That's new, Issei said. Father mentioned that one of Sona's team members was the Grigor, but he didn't tell me why. Now we know because clearly Saji had an upgrade, Akano said. Team Sona began to fight Team Bael, but Syra Org didn't. Neither did his pawn. Why aren't you and your pawn fighting? Sona said. I'm sorry, Sona, but I can't tell you that. Why not? Sona replied. Would you share your secrets with your opponent? Syra Org said. Fair enough, Sona replied. Sona's only rook couldn't fight both of Syra Org's rooks at the same time, and one was giving them Gollum. Eventually, her pawn retired. Her only knight had the same fate and retired. Saji was about to fight Karina until she started stripping. Everyone was just, oh boy. Corona strips to her underwear. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not complaining, Azazel said. Issei and Serzek, oh boy, oh boy. Both Kuroka and Grafia covered their lovers' eyes. Oh no you don't. Bro, let's not risk it, Issei said. Yeah, I want to live, Serzek replied. Back to the match. What are you doing? Saji said. I'm seducing you, obviously, Corona said. Saji tries to cover his eyes but can't help but peek. Saji, just take her out, Sona said. Like on a date? That's not a bad idea, Saji replied. No, I mean eliminate her. Syra Org did... No, you... Come on, dude. Honestly, no. She said that she'll handle Saji but didn't tell me how. Sorry, Syra Org said. Sona was red from embarrassment, and Sarurogi just looked away. So what do you say? Want to go out? Kurono replied. Only after you put your clothes back on first, Saji said. Done. You can take them off later, Kurono said. Damn, Saji replied. Vitra in his head, oh, she's good. Saji, if you don't ask her out, then I'll take your body and do it myself, Vitra replied. Every guy in the arena was whistling. Saji turned bright red. Now he definitely has a crush on her. Kurono, just retire, please. This is too much, Sarurogi replied. Sarurogi was just as embarrassed because this was his first rating game, and this is what his push-up did. Sona had enough and smacked Saji to bring him back to reality. They continued to fight till only Sona and Saji were left. Saji tried to fight Sarurogi, but to no avail. No attack could even damage him, but one punch from him sent Saji flying into the wall. His broken bones proved that Sarurogi was too strong for Sona to fight. She was alone against him now, and she knew her chances were zero. She surrendered. Sona Sitri has surrendered. Team Bael wins. Now it's time for Gremry vs Team Bael in tomorrow's match. See if you all at the finals, folks. Just one punch, Issei said. Scary, Asuya said. I'm going to check on Tsubaki, Kiba replied. I'll come with you. I'll check on Sanji. Hey, Rias, Sona could use a friend right now. You coming? Issei replied. Sure, Rias said. The three leave to visit their friends. They are in the infirmary. The Rooks, Bishop, and Knights are passed out. Saji is currently getting his bones reconstructed as Issei found out through a nurse. Tsubaki only had minor injuries. Rias goes straight into the infirmary just as Kiba was about to follow. Hold up, Issei said. What's up? Kiba replied. Issei summoned his boosted gear and boosted a few times then transferred it to Kiba. Whoa, what a boost, but why? Kiba said. You'll need it for what's about to happen if you know what I mean. What? Kiba said. You may be fast, but take your time when it comes to the deed. Thanks, man, Kiba said. Follow her lead. You'll be grateful. See ya, Issei said. Kiba went to Tsubaki and both started talking. One thing led to another and both ended up in the janitor's closet for some alone time. Issei was waiting in the room, then a nurse came and told him that he could visit Saji. Hey, Saji, Issei said. Hey, buddy, Saji replied. You're really in a good mood for a guy who got his bones broken from one punch, Issei said. Well, nothing can hurt a guy in love, man, Saji said. Pretty sure that's a large dose of morphine talking, so Kurena, huh? One hell of a way to confess. She's bold one and gorgeous, Saji said. I'll say, she's quite the bold. I thought you liked Sona. It's more of a platonic love, and she's my master after all. Man, there are some nice walls, Saji said. Both enjoyed their chat afterwards, and everyone went for ramen afterwards. And that's the end of Chapter 27. Sitri gets owned. Chapter 28. A real match. Everyone is at Issei's house and discussing the plan. He punched Saji and Sona and saw just how strong Sarurogi, but we all know that he's stronger than that, Issei said. He's my cousin after all. His abilities are not normal. He didn't inherit any abilities from his bloodline, so he trained to become a man he is today, and the head of his family, Rias said. What about his pawn? His aura was powerful and it felt like it could become more so, Kuroka said. Let's check the news on the rating game. The media has ways to bring forth information on almost anyone, Akano said. They bring out their phones and made especially for this reason. Bael wins. Rias Grimmery's pawns beat High Devil King Riser. The Red Dragon Emperor is a powerful fallen with 12 wings. Has Rias been hiding this all along? Issei's armor promotions at first in Red Dragon Emperor history. He may be the strongest Red Dragon Emperor yet. Kurona stripped in front of everyone to get a date? Sarurogi's response, no comment. Who is his new pawn and why doesn't he fight? That was all the headlines. So many headlines and yet no answers. That was a bust, Kurona said. Yeah, it was a waste, but Kurona definitely took some of the attention off of us, Asuya said. I'm thankful for that, because I wanted to keep this ability as a trump card against him, but he knows and he'll be ready, Issei says. About that, how are you able to use promote when you're a king and you were planning on using it against us if we ever fought in a match, Rias said. First answer, I've had this ability. Since I sparred with Volley, and second, the answer that there's a 50-50 chance whether I use it, meaning... Rias replied, you're not as strong enough for me to waste my energy by using that ability. 2. If you were, and I hated you like I used to, I would have gone all out, not letting you catch your breath for a second, Issei said. Issei created a small spear. He closed his eyes and had a smile that radiated pure fear while he spun the light spear between his fingers. Clearly, he was not kidding. Yeah, that's fair, Akano said. That stung a bit. Damn, Rias said. But I still want to know who that pawn is, Issei replied. His spear disappeared. Same here, Azazel said. Where did you come from, old man? Volley replied. Show some respect to your elders, you damn runt. Also, the door was open. Lock it sometimes, Azazel said. Like that will stop you, Kuroka replied. True, I barge in anyway. So back on topic. I sense a power that is almost equal to the heavenly dragons in that pond, Azazel said. His power is familiar, but I can't remember from where, Drake said. Keep thinking, Drake, Issei said. Even I can't remember. It's been a few hundred years, Albion replied. If Volley and I could participate in the battle, then we would stand a better chance, should he be so strong, Ko said. If we knew about this, then we probably could have joined you, Volley replied. I appreciate the help, but it won't be necessary, because this is just a game. It's not really a life or death type of match. Yes, injuries are a part of it, but not death. Sarorg definitely control his pawn. That's an excellent point. Worst case scenario, we lose the match, and it's not like that it'll be the only time we'll fight. We don't really have much to lose, Kiba said. Except for our reputation, Kiba replied. Ria said. Yeah, except that, Kiba said. So Kiba, how it go earlier? Kiba turns bright red. It was bliss. Kiba said. Issei, what's he talking about? Oh, I just gave him a bit of a boost for, You didn't, Kuroka said. He did, and now she's limping, yet happy. Too much information, Rias replied. Not you too, Volley said. I knew you could do it, Romeo. High five, Issei said. Fuck it, high five, Kiba replied. Looks like Tsubaki is getting some action too, Kuroka said. Yeah, sure, rub it in my face, cause why not, Rias said. You're still not over him? You had your chance to rub it, but you blew it in the wrong way, Red, Kuroka said. Azazel was trying really hard to control his laughter. Enough already, please. Look at poor Azia. She fainted. You can still see the mark on her head as she ran into the wall after catching you two breaking the bed during, Ko said. Poor Azia was passed out and almost everyone was beat red. Yeah, and now she wants more as soon as she can walk properly again. So, Issei, I got you covered. Let me know when you need a boost. Just use protection. Oh, come on, Drake said in his head. Hey Drake, rename your boost to Thrust, Albion replied. Or don't use protection, it feels better. Speaking of which, Issei, I know we're doing it later, okay? Issei said. Till I can't walk, babe, Kuroka winked. Damn it, enough with the sex talk, everyone said. We can't take much more of it, Irina replied. You're making us feel like we are missing out on so much, Anovia said. Then why not join, Issei? Akano said. Sorry, but Issei isn't into playing with me, Kuroka replied. She's right. I'm perfectly happy with her and no one can come close. Sorry, Issei said. Do you really have to remind me? Ria said. I'm not sorry, Issei said. Azazel finally lost it. He laughed like a hyena and continued to his ribs still hurt. Okay, moving on, Arthur said. So what's the plan, Volley replied. I'll handle Sarorg since I'm the one who can match him in brute strength, but that pawn, just who is he, Issei said. There's no point in dwelling on it if there's nothing we can do other than improvise, Shidorane said. I suppose that's true, Kuroka said. Then we just hope for the best, Zenobia said. The next day, just before the match, Team Grimmery now called Team Red, standing in front of Team Buell. All eyes on Sarorg and his pawn. Welcome to the third and final match, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're anxious to see the two strong teams fight. We can just feel the tension in the air, so let's get to it. Today's game will be different. However, each team can send 1 or 2 members of each team. The members have been selected by the people. Both teams enter the field. They enter the field to oppose each other. Yo, Issei, you ready? Sarorg said. Hell yeah, I am, Issei replied. After I saw your promotion ability, I have a trump card of my own, Sarorg said. You mean your pawn? Yeah, I figured you'd use something like that, Issei said. So let's hope you fight only one of us, otherwise you're a dead man, Sarorg said. Everyone goes, oh, snap. Someone's getting cocky, Issei said. Alright, folks, enough trash talk. Let's start. The first wave will be between the night fight as per request of our viewers. Begin! All 4 knights immediately clash their blades, each showing their skill and grace. Sparks fly with every clash. Kiba was battling Libyan when he saw a smirk. He felt gravity increase tenfold and was on his knees. What the hell? Kiba said. That's my sacred gear. I can amplify the gravity on my target as long as I can see them, Libyan said. Arthur sees Kiba in trouble and quickly uses his sword, Kulbron. He increased its energy till it scared Sarorg's other knight and used it to take him out just before he could take out Kiba. Thanks, Arthur, Kiba said. Happy to help, Arthur replied. Alright, the Knights of Team Red win. The crowd cheers. Up next is Queen versus Queen. Both queens come forth. Begin, Azazel said. I won't hold back, Kushina. Neither will I, Kushina replied. Akano spreads her fallen devil wings and takes to the sky. Wasting no time, she gathers her holy lightning and fires a massive lightning bolt. Kushina smiles and opens a hole, sucking it in. What? Akano says. It's my signature ability. Hole, Kushina said. So all you can do is suck it all in. Akano said. Akano then fires more lightning and even a light spear, only for them to get sucked into holes too. I can send them right back, Kushina says. Kushina opens a hole behind Akano and unleashed the lightning. It hit Akano, which burned her severely, yet she still remained airborne. As they say, spit don't swallow. I think you should have swallowed it. But is that all you got? Akano said. Looks like you forgot about the spear. Oh shit, Akano said. Akano was hit by the spear and it left a large gash on her abdomen. Being part devil made her weak to the own spear, and thus she fell onto the ground only to retire. The winner is Kushina Adadon, Zazel says. No, not you, Akano, Ria said. What the hell's up with the sexual innuendo, and why so cocky, Issei said. Maybe after the training, you made her overconfident, Shirone said. Even if she wasn't cocky, I doubt she could have won. She's a magic user along with one range at that. It would have ended as it did. Sorry, Rias, but this one was not a winning situation. She and her team were upset at the loss. Up next is full-on Rook battle. All 4 Rooks enter the field. Are you ready? Azazel said. Shirone used the time to power up. Her cattail became 2 and her cat ears appeared. Her training with Kuroka was showing excellent results. Byoka radiated himself. Sour Orc's Golem prepared and the other Rook followed Shirone's lead. He began to transform into a dragon. Oh, what a surprise. It seems that Sour Orc's Rook is one of the extinct 72 pillars who were famous for taming dragon, and very few were able to become dragons themselves, Azazel said. Shirone and Byoka were now on alert. These two will be tough to beat. Shirone attacked first and punched the golem repeatedly, yet he didn't move. He didn't even flinch, Byoka said. The golem stands there gloating. It'll take effect soon, Shirone said. You sent jutsu and chakra points, didn't you? Byoka said. For a monkey, you're smart. Zip it, pussycat, Byoka said. The dragon Rook attacked with fire breath, which easily dodged. He flew towards Byoka and punched him. Byoka held his own, but barely. Shirone, once again having to fight the golem, continued to lay a beat down. Eventually, the golem wasn't as strong or as fast. Its movements were sluggish and weak. Shirone just came up to him and knocked him out with the powerful punch. Byoka used his staff to launch himself over the dragon that landed behind him, knocked him over on his back after taking out his legs. Before he could attack, the dragon Rook sent a fire breath and forced him back. Byoka had no choice but to stay behind and cover. He isn't immune to flames. Shirone snuck up behind the dragon and Rook punched him in the spine. The dragon Rook hit her with his tail and sent her crashing to the ground. The dragon Rook began to stomp on her. Her cries of pain nearly made Kuroka jump in. Byoka showed up, and just before he could hurt Shirone anymore, tackled the Rook into the trees. He runs up to Shirone. Are you okay? Byoka said. Shirone gets up. In pain, but I still got a little fight left in me, Shirone replies. The dragon Rook appears, clearly battered and bruised, just barely hanging in there. I have an idea. Grab onto my staff and I'll give you a boost. Right, Shirone says. She grabbed Byoka's staff and he began swinging it in 360 degrees. He then extended his staff and then used a centrifugal force to send Shirone flying into the dragon Rook. With her Nana speed and strength was she basically unstoppable. He kicked the dragon in the chest, broke his ribs, and damaged his organs, leaving him unable to battle. And the winners are the Rooks from Team Red, Azazel announced. Shirone falls to her knees after giving it all she had. Byoka picks up and gives her lift in his back. Thanks. It was a good move, Shirone said. The final attack, we're carrying you, Byoka replied. Figure it out, monkey, Shirone said. Pussycat, Byoka replied. I can't tell if they are flirting or insulting each other, Kuroka said. It's a bit of both, Issei said. Alright, so next up we have, oh shit. This is clearly the popular demand of the audience, and we'll receive 1 Phoenix tier for this. From Team Red, the pawn Issei in Bishop Kuroka. Was Cyreorg in his pawn? What? Team Red said. Looks like it's the worst case scenario for you, Cyreorg said. It's the other way around, bud, Issei replied. Begin. Cyreorg's pawn stepped forth and took off his hood. Shall I, master? The pawn said. Yes. The pawn smiles, then his body begins to change shape. His limbs and body were now more like animal, claws all fingers and toes. His hair grew longer and his beard was now like a big cat. He continued to grow until he was over 3 meters tall. His entire body was now a massive golden lion. Meet my pawn, the Nemean lion, Cyberorg said. The crowd lost its shit. The Lion of Nenma is here? Issei said. Oh shit, he doesn't wield a sacred gear. He is one, Issei said. What? Kuroka replied. For those who don't know, the Nemean lion was the last of the 13 labors of Hercules. The Nemean lion is now a sacred gear that can transform from lion into an axe, whose swing is powerful enough to split the planet in half, but it's been missing for over 500 years. It's also one of the 13 Longinus sacred gears. I was fortunate enough to find him and tame him with my own will and power, Cyberorg said. Damn, begin, Azazel said. You handle Cyberorg, I'll handle the lion. I love a good cat fight, Issei said. Babe, I know. Balance break. Issei entered his balance breaker and promoted to Rook. His now thick, bulky armor was meant for full-on physical attacks. Kuroka unleashed her 8 wings and made her magic to keep the lion on its toes. Issei and Cyberorg were in a full-on fist fight, both dealing damage but none backing down. Bits of Issei's armor were flying off everywhere. Issei boosted his power and it did the trick. Cyberorg was having trouble keeping up and getting his ass handed to him. Cyberorg hit the wall after receiving one of Issei's boosted fists. Just before Issei could finish him off, it was tackled by the lion and his armor was changed. Master, please use me, the lion said. I told you no. I'll only use it if there's a threat to the underworld, Cyberorg said. Do it, Issei replied. Everyone looks at Issei. Are you nuts? Kuroka said. A little bit, Issei said. You can't be serious, Cyberorg replied. I very much am. I want you to be at your best, so do it, Issei said. You really are an idiot, Kuroka replied. And yet you love me because I'm an idiot, Issei said. So you want me to beat my best, huh? I'll make you regret saying that. Balance break, Cyberorg says. The lion merged with Cyberorg and became an armor. Cyberorg was now wearing golden armor with the mark of the Nemean lion on its chest and had large golden mane. His power was almost too much. Issei sensed it and didn't risk letting Cyberorg getting in the first punch. Issei boosted his power and sent a boost fist right at Cyberorg's face, but it did nothing. Oh shit, Issei said. Issei crossed his arms after he knew a powerful punch coming his way. Cyberorg did just that. He sent Issei flying through a portal in the trees. Issei's armor was completely broken. Cyberorg came up to him and was ready to end Issei until he was hit by a barrage of magical elemental attacks. None of them had any effect. Kuroka stood between Cyberorg and Issei. He's too strong. Move, Issei said. We're both fighting him. You're not alone anymore, Kuroka replied. Admirable, you should listen to him. You can't beat me, Cyberorg said. Kuroka refused to move. Cyberorg appeared behind her, and before she could react, he knocked her out. Issei only saw Kuroka fall on the ground behind him. His mind imagined the worst-case scenario. Did he kill her? Issei's rage was immense. He got up and Cyberorg backed away. Kuroka lay there, motionless. How dare you? That's my Kuroka, Issei said. Issei's power boosted over and over again. There seemed to be no limit. The entire arena was shaking from his energy flaring. I'll beat you till there's nothing left. Promotion, queen, Issei said. Issei's armor changed once again. His armor had all of the attributes from the other 3 promotions, and this new power made the air sting. There was so much anger. Issei blasted off into the air and fired several energy bombs from 2 wings-mounted cannons. They hit their target, definitely cracked the golden armor. Issei came down fast and just barely missing landing on his target. The fight continued on and Kuroka woke up. She was disoriented and at first Issei's energy snapped her out of it. She looked at him and saw his current state. Issei could be consumed by the anger and power if she didn't do something quick. Issei had beaten Cyberorg to the point where his armor was nothing but shards. Issei's new queen promotion was strong but unstable. Just as Issei continues to punch Cyberorg, he feels 8 wings cover him and radiate warmth. Issei, sweetie, you won. I'm here, so please calm down. For me, Kuroka said. Her voice stopped and his armor dispelled. Kuroka? You're okay, Issei said. He was happy that she's alright. Yeah, I'm here, love. This is not a game, not life or death, Kuroka said. She kissed him and he kissed back. Issei then looked and saw Cyberorg and said, Hey, you doing okay? Issei said. No, I'm not. I'm doing great. That was one hell of a fight, Issei. Ha! You really lived up to the hype. I can't fight anymore, Red Dragon Emperor. You win, Cyberorg says. I can't believe it. The winner is Team Red, Azazel announces. The crowd goes wild. Issei helps Cyberorg on his feet and takes his team. Thanks, Cyberorg said. No problem. Just don't ever make me go through that again, Issei said. You thought I killed her? Cyberorg. Yeah, Issei replied. I would never. Sorry to scare you, Cyberorg said. It's okay. I'm just happy she's alright. So what's the story about you being fallen in her? Cyrogue said. That's a story for another time. Perhaps over a drink, Issei said. Deal, Cyrogue replied. Issei drops him off and goes back to his team. They all come up to him and congratulate him. Ria straight up hugs him, thanking him repeatedly. Team Red win their first rating game. So Issei, now that you guys won, what now? Sir Zexrup said. Actually, there's something I want to talk about, but just the two of us, Issei replied. You guys aren't going to a strip club, are you? Kuroka said. Kuroka and Grapefia admitted a killing aura. No, we choose life, both said at the same time. Both hugged for their dear lives. Ladies and gents, you're Devil King and Red Dragon Emperor, everyone said. Everyone goes home and celebrate as soon as Akeno recovers. And that is the end of chapter 28, A Real Match. And that is where we're going to stop for now. We are now on, or just finished chapter 28, The Real Match. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this little episode. Please look forward to that stream, okay, that I said at the beginning, where I'm going to be streaming with one of a fellow person, or a fellow girl to be exact, on the next stream, where I also reveal my face at the same time. I bought a camera and everything for it. I'm going to make sure this is professional as possible, but it's going to be quite weird as well, so just be prepared for that, and please try not to make fun of me, because man, I'm a bitch. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys want to know exactly when I upload, hit the little blue button right next to the subscribe button, and that'll lead you to it. Remember to subscribe to my second channel, or my main channel technically, and Palpowski. I will be doing what ifs on Goku on there specifically. Thank you all for the support, and without further ado, let's try to hit 1,000 likes. Spartanic out.